So now we're going to look at arrays. Another form of storing information is inside of an array. And it's really cool and powerful in that it can look at a bunch of HTML elements and like automatically it'll make an array out of them. So if you have a list or a bunch of paragraphs in order or something like that, you can tell JavaScript to treat them incrementally a certain way. So again, we'll remove the extra here. So it's a little bit more clear. Okay, so we have a list. We could even get rid of that. Okay, we have an unordered list, and it has 3 list items inside of it: coffee, tea, and milk. And it's saying, and then there's a button underneath, and it says when you click that button, run this function, whose name I will surely change in a second. And then change the inner HTML of this paragraph, so like the same thing we've been doing already in the examples, into something. And let's see what that something is. So we declare this function here, and then we create a variable. So we're going to be passing a variable somehow, somewhere. So let's see what kind of variable we're declaring. So we've declared it, so we could also like say it this way, for example. We could say x exists, and then we could say x equals blah, 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 or x is set to blah, 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 blah. But to simplify it, we're just saying x exists and it is set to blah, blah, blah. All right, so it is set to this document's elements by tag name. So where JavaScript is getting all the elements on this document by their tag name, and that tag name is li. And it looks like it's not case sensitive, because here you can see li is capitalized and here it isn't. So it's not case sensitive. And what is that going to give us? I'm guessing it's giving us a amount of things. We have this variable that is an array of the list objects. And now we're saying, look at this document, get element by ID. So it's the next operation. So we're finding this ID element with the name of demo. And then we're saying the inner HTML of that element, so this spot right here, set it to x0. So x0 is, of the array of x, we want the thing that's in position 0. And whatever that the inner HTML of that is, stick it into this tag. So let's go through them. Let's go through the different ones. So if we reset this to 1 and I run it, it'll give me tea. If we set this to 2 and I rerun it, it'll give me milk. And if I set it to 0, it'll give me coffee. So programmers start counting from 0. That's, oh, someone's waiting outside. Hang on. Okay. So in programming, we start counting from 0. So that's why 0 gives us coffee. And then 1 is actually the thing that's in the second position. And 2 is going to be the thing that's in the third position. Okay. I hope that was pretty clear. Okay. Let me comment this out for you. So we start with an array of HTML elements. So we didn't think of this as an array before, but now that we are programmatically looking at the content of our HTML page and breaking it down iteratively with JavaScript, it turns out that this is an array. And then we have our button that runs the function. And the function, I would call it like show list item, right? Like it's a function that's showing a list item at a given space. And we could even like have all three of them show up if we made these three. We could do this. So now we have all three. X gets all the information from the array of elements that we created. It stores them like 3 boxes in a row next to each other. And then we can say get the thing in the first box and put it in this element, get the thing in the second box, put it in this one, and get the thing in the third one and put it in this one. And we can even change up the order, right? Or we could just make it all be milk. I'm like, no, I only like milk. I've sorted through the box, decided that I only like one of these things, and I'm only going to replicate that one. So like that could be a thing you do. Okay, so create a place to display elements when needed. Then initialize function show list item, get all the tags and their information, and then pass that information to an HTML tag. Another HTML tag. So we're taking that information of milk and we're passing it to another one in the page. I don't need to repeat that 3 times. Okay, so this is your like kind of introduction to arrays. Maybe I'll make a little image as well. Yeah, so again, just so that you can visualize it, like this is what we created. So normally if we have our variable that's called x, it's just one thing. Here it was x0. So this kind of looks like at the beginning of class when we were looking at the way that memory is stored on a computer, and we looked at like blocks of memory existing in physical space on the computer, and then the information that's written to it to create a file is like placed all over in the blocks, right? So this is kind of that same concept, but just in software. Instead of being like an actual like hardware paradigm and a solution to storing information in hardware, we've recreated this concept of like blocks that are all together this x0, x1, x2 versus like blocks that are separate. It's that same idea. So like another way of storing this information could be to make three unrelated elements called XYZ, variables called XYZ, that are like all separate, and they each have their own definition. So instead of doing that, we defined all of these together in an iterative fashion. So that's the array.